After last night's lie-filled performance on the debate stage by J.D. Vance, Donald Trump has sent out all of his stooges to double down on the conspiracies that J.D. Vance pushed on behalf of Donald Trump. And chief among those liars, those Trump stooges, is Trump Senior Advisor Corey Lewandowski, who went on and interviewed with Jim Acosta today. Jim Acosta, who we are a big fan of on this show because he was not having any of Corey Lewandowski's nonsense. He was calling out his lies. He was shutting down the conspiracies, and he eventually kicked him off air in such a perfect moment that I am excited to check out. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to help me celebrate my birthday, there will be a link in the description and top comment of this video to donate $22 to the Kamala Harris campaign for my 22nd birthday. That would really mean a lot to me because we got to keep fighting, because when we fight, we win. Now let's check out this clip of Jim Acosta shutting down Corey Lewandowski.
Let's get right into this. Last night, Senator Vance refused to answer whether Trump lost the 2020 election. Let's listen to that.
I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
Yeah, Corey, why is this so difficult for the Trump campaign to answer? I mean, it's 2024. Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? Can you answer that?
Jim, I think it's very simple. The American people have passed the 2020 election. They're focused on an election which is just under 5 weeks away. And what we have an opportunity to do now is to talk about two different visions for America. And what J.D. Vance laid out last night is a very different vision than what Tim Walz and Kamala Harris want to say. So, look, we can go back and relitigate the 2020 election, or we can look at what we can do to make America better for the everyday Americans who are struggling under Bidenomics.
Yeah,
they're struggling under.
It's not relitigating. It's just a simple question. Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? I mean, that's
but Jim, why are we talking about 2020 anymore? Does the American people care about the 2020 election anymore, or do they care about being able to put food on their table, gas in their car, home heating oil in there?
I think one reason why it's coming up, Corey, is because the former president has said on the campaign trail repeatedly that there was all this widespread fraud in 2020. That was not the case. And he's also teeing up the same kinds of challenges after this election. It hasn't even happened yet. So it is a very relevant
Jim,
question.
we know there was fraud. There's no question there was some fraud that took place in the 2020 election. There's no question about that.
No widespread fraud.
What does widespread mean, Jim? Is one vote that's illegal enough? Or how many do you determine is widespread? What is that number?
There were instances of voter fraud from Trump supporters. I mean, you know that from the 2020 campaign. But
and you're saying there was none on the other side, Jim?
I mean, I'm sure there was, but Corey, I mean, every expert, people from inside the Trump administration who have come out since then have said, no widespread voter fraud. And
but what does widespread mean, Jim? Why are we focusing on 2024 is my question.
I guess what you're saying is that Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 election. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is Joe Biden is the president of the United States. You recognize that, and I recognize that. But let's talk about the 2024 election, which is less than 5 weeks away, and let's look at the two visions for America
will
that these two candidates have.
Will Donald Trump honor the results of the 2024 election? Will he do that?
Jim, did Hillary Clinton honor the results? No. Did Democrats honor the results?
Yes, she did. She called and conceded the election. Corey, I was with you guys on election night in Manhattan.
She said the election was stolen. She said there was Russian interference. Members of this network said that the Steele dossier was true.
She called the then president-elect and conceded the election.
Jim, why are we talking hypotheticals? Why aren't we talking about the policy matters that matter to the American people?
I know, but Corey,
it's
a simple question.
That have poured across this country. Jim, why are we talking about the 13,000 murderers who've been let into this country under the Biden-Harris-Walz administration? Let's talk about things that people care about. Let's talk about the crippling economy. You want to talk about a hypothetical in 5 weeks from now. I'm talking about every single day right now.
Now, for as much as pundits or commentators want to say that J.D. Vance won the debate last night, which I completely disagree with. Sure, his lies may have been a little slicker, a little cleaner than Donald Trump's angry, rage-filled outbursts, but that doesn't mean they weren't lies. And J.D. Vance's dismissal of the question, his non-answer on if he would have overturned the 2020 election, will be the only thing anyone takes away from last night. Because the fact that he is a liar, the fact that he is willing to attack our democracy and sell us all out for Donald Trump is the only thing we need to know about J.D. Vance. And I was so glad to see Acosta continue to push back against Corey Lewandowski's really just sad and disingenuous defense of that, not wanting to answer any of the questions. And that continued to happen in the rest of this interview. And like I said, we're going to check out him getting just booted off of the show. But Acosta also pressed Corey Lewandowski on the questions on immigration that were asked last night and the lies that J.D. Vance pushed. And he did a great job with that, so I want to check it out.
Immigration. All right, last night, J.D. Vance said immigrants have, quote, destroyed Americans' lives in Springfield before having his mic cut. But all of this got started when Trump falsely claimed at last month's debate that Haitian migrants were eating pets. The governor of Ohio, the mayor of Springfield, have both come out and said this is not true. Corey, can you say that Haitian migrants are not eating pets in Springfield? Can you say that?
You know what I can say, Jim? I can say that 13,099 murderers were let into this country, 16,000 rapists, 425,000 people in the last 4 years have been let into this country by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's own Customs and Border Protection that are running
Corey,
around this country, Jim.
The other thing, too, it's Kamala Harris.
Crimes.
I don't know. Why do you guys say Kamala? That is, it's Kamala Harris.
Jim, we know that they're committing crimes against Americans. Why can't these individuals talk about the individuals who've been killed by illegal immigrants? 13,099 murderers have been let into this country by this administration's own accounting, and you guys don't want to talk about it. To put that in perspective,
Corey, we talk about
viewers,
immigration all the time.
Yeah,
we talk about this all the time.
Jim, admit that 13,099 murders have been let into this country. That's Corey, 4 murderers for every single county in America. You don't think that that's a problem?
Border crossings are down and crime is down in this country. But
crime is not down in this country. The FBI
I asked you at the
lied,
beginning
Jim,
of this interview, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? I just asked you whether Haitian migrants are eating dogs and cats in Springfield. You won't admit the truth on either of those questions. I want to ask you about something that
13,000 murderers have come into the country.
The 13,000 number is false, by the way. The 13,000 number is false.
Why is it false, Jim? If the government's own data says that, CBP's own data put this out last week. So why do you say it's false if the government put out? By the way, this is the Biden-Harris administration who put out.
The government also says border crossings are down.
But Jim, you just said that was a false number. How do you get how do you get to that? What data do you have that says Customs and Border Protection is wrong?
Yeah, I also want to ask you about something that Trump said.
No, but Jim, you just said it was wrong.
That is over several administrations, Corey. That number is over several administrations.
How many?
Corey, well, why don't you tell me, since you seem to have command of that fact?
I have command of what they put out, which is 13,099 murderers have been let into this country. That is a fact.
But the administration has also said that border crossings are down. Isn't that also true?
Well, Jim, which facts are you going to go with? Are you going to go with some of the facts from CBP or all the facts from CBP? Well, which ones are you going with?
Well, we're going with the facts, Corey. I don't know about you, but I do want to ask you about...
First of all, and I'm glad that Jim Acosta is bringing this up, the 13,000 number that Corey continues to talk about is a misrepresentation of data. Jessica Tarlov has also done a great job calling this out on the Fox propaganda outlet. Those are numbers through multiple administrations. That is just not under the Biden-Harris administration, and they're talking about criminals. Some of those people are not walking the streets. They are in jail. They are in prison. It is a complete misrepresentation of that number. But again, we know the truth. Republicans just want to lie and fearmonger about immigration. They don't want to work for a solution. They don't want to solve any problems. They just want to complain and whine. And speaking of which, Corey Lewandowski mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name just shows how unserious these people are. And it is the exact reason he got booted from this show because, again, he is not a serious person. And Jim Acosta called him out for that right here.
It goes to show you the politics of the top of the administration, whether it's Mayorkas or it's Kamala or it's Joe Biden. Donald Trump should have had additional resources.
What is this Kamala? It's Kamala Harris. Corey, you've been in this business a long time. I think you're a mature grown-up. It's Kamala Harris. Can you just say, can you say Kamala, or you cannot say Kamala?
Jim, can you admit 13,099 murders have come into the country? You say you haven't.
Well, Corey, I appreciate you coming on. Maybe we'll have you back. Thanks for your time.
If you refuse to correctly pronounce the name of the Vice President of the United States, you are not a person who deserves a platform. And that is exactly the position that Jim Acosta took, saying, we're done with this interview. We're closing it. We're finished up. Get off. And I love that point at the end that he said, maybe we'll see you again. I think that maybe is a no. We will not be seeing any more of Corey Lewandowski, and we do not need to. But unfortunately, like I said, there were lots of Trump stooges across mainstream media today pushing his talking points about last night, and we can see one of the worst examples right here.
Well, when they fact-checked Senator Vance and shut off his mic, I thought that was pretty alarming, especially since the rules they agreed to were not to fact-check the candidates on the stage, but they just could not help themselves because I think they were getting triggered by Senator Vance speaking the truth so powerfully and so eloquently, not only effectively tackling Governor Walz on that stage for his lies, but also pushing back against the mainstream media's lies on so many issues.
That was Donald Trump's campaign spokesperson saying the same thing that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance will continue to say because they're running away from the truth that they lost their debates, that it was a 3-on-1, that they were fact-checked too much. Well, maybe just don't lie then. That could solve a lot of problems if you would just stop doing that. But they won't, so we have to call them out, and we're going to continue to every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and like I said, there will be a link to donate to the Harris-Walz campaign. It would really mean a lot if you chipped in. And until next time, I'll see you soon.